I have the honor of introducing her. She's currently the president and CEO of Train Station Philippines. She is an international empowerment and motivational speaker. She wears many hats. She has many roles: management consultant, coach, author, business communication expert, Neuro-Linguistic Programming trainer, master practitioner, and she wants to include this. She's an improv, stage, TV, and film actress and comedian and singer.
Yeah, and she's the president and CEO of Train Station Incorporated.
Right. All right. So, Miss Carelle Mangaliag-Herrera, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, I'm so excited to listen to her.
Hello, Miss Itin. Hello, Nandy.
Hi, Carelle.
Yes, I am just so honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Happy anniversary, RCW. Tita H! 20 years already. Yes. Oh my goodness. So, shall I start? And do you have anything else that you would want us to just catch up on before I begin?
All right, the floor is yours, Miss Carelle. We're so excited to listen to you.
Okay, thank you again. Yes. So today, I was asked by Tita H, and when Tita H, I call her fondly kasi instead of calling her Tita Harriet or Tita Ne, as some people would fondly call her, we called her Tita H in Train Station when she took up her NLP practitioner with us some, I don't know, 10 years ago, I think. And when she asked me, can you do a talk on care as awareness? How can I say no? RCW is also a part of my journey, my own personal journey and my own discovery of myself and also of my family. So a lot of the turning points in my family have really been greatly affected by the help of Tita H. So of course, I will say yes to this. And if it means empowering or helping each and every one of you take care of yourselves so that you get to take care of your families, your loved ones, your communities better, well then, yes, I would of course say yes to that. So care as awareness is my topic. And I would love to just share with you a couple of things about care and awareness. And I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with this terminology from Ignatian spirituality. I don't know if it's already been mentioned previously, but there's this Latin word or Latin phrase called cura personalis, which is really all about taking care of the self. And from Ignatian spirituality, it's really just taking care of our desires, our heart's desires, our physical attributes, our faith, our minds, which are all equally important and need care and attention. So if it's all about awareness, am I aware of what I'm going through? Am I aware of how I am, especially right now? As you've probably heard over and over again, these are unprecedented times. Things that we're going through, parang hindi natin in-expect. We'd never expect this to happen. And the overwhelm, the uncertainty, the anxieties that people are going through, we have to be aware of how we are so that we can take care of ourselves better. Now, we've all heard about the denial, anger, grief, bargaining, acceptance as stages of change. But because of this pandemic, there's this thing called ambiguous loss. Ambiguous loss. Unlike grief, unlike when you've lost someone you care about, or when someone dies, or like I've lost my father 2 years ago, and that was tangible loss. You cannot hold him anymore. You cannot smell him anymore. And the stages of grief, of course, I went through that as well. But with this thing that we're going through, there is ambiguous loss because we cannot pinpoint it. Like, it's not really a tangible loss for some. Well, while some people have lost jobs, careers, ways of living, financial status, there are people who've just lost their way of life. That way of life, that social connection that we used to have with anybody, that ability to have autonomy and to just go around anywhere we want to be able to. Yesterday, I was quite emotional because one of my closest friends got married. And instead of the plan we had of having 200 plus 300 people at the wedding that we were planning with them, I was the matron of honor, we ended up with 25 people yesterday of the closest families and friends. And we cannot even hug the couple. We cannot even hug the parents of the couple. So there's that ambiguous loss. You can't pinpoint it, but we have to grieve it nonetheless. And there's this also thing called surge capacity, wherein when there's a calamity, just like recently when Ulysses hit us, and also Typhoon Rolly, there's that surge capacity that people are immediately able to become resilient and agile kasi they have to adapt to the situation. But because of the Ulysses, Rolly, along with a pandemic, I saw this meme. I don't know if you saw that. Yung nakakapagod nang maging resilient. I don't know if you've seen that, but a lot of people have already maxed out on the surge capacity because this pandemic and a lot of these things that have been happening to us have been long drawn. So how do we take care of ourselves? That's the thing that I would want to be able to share with you right now. And just to begin with awareness. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to just chat them up anytime. I would love the assistance of the team from RCW to just post them on our chat box so I get to see your questions. But to have the awareness of why do we react this way? Why do we have these kinds of reactions? And I want to share with you my expertise, which is Neuro-Linguistic Programming. I'm sure a lot of you have already heard this. And in my past, every anniversary po talaga ng RCW, I'm a part of it. So thank you so much, RCW, for making me a part of this. And I've always talked about NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And just last year, I ventured into applied neurosciences. Actually, it's been a couple of years already that I've been studying applied neurosciences because I love science. I love the backing of science for this thing that I have, which is NLP. Neuro-linguistic programming kasi does not have a lot of research and a lot of papers and a lot of, backing when it comes to studies. But when it comes to applied neurosciences, the actual studies of the brain, I got so fascinated with how it truly works, that our brains are really so fascinating, and how we can be more aware of what happens to it, and how we can be more aware of how the language in our brain affects how we feel all the time, and how the language that we have in our heads, how they can affect our actions, how they can affect our behaviors, how it affects how we react and respond. And sometimes, because of what we're going through right now, the primary part of our brain that's getting affected is our emotional brain. Our emotional brain, the seat of the emotions, the limbic brain. If you could see this illustration that I have here beside me, it's really at the center of our brain system. And what it does is, when there's a panic situation, a part of our brain called the amygdala, that's the panic button of the brain. So when there is uncertainty, like announcement, pandemic, the amygdala immediately acted up, got aroused because pandemic. Oh my goodness, I am not safe in this pandemic. And all of a sudden, we had a lockdown. All of the things that we were certain with, all of the schedules we used to have, all of the plans we had for this year, they all changed. So our brains received that as a threat. Immediately, our amygdala started to react, and it sends messages to our brainstem, to our insula, to our hypothalamus. It secretes all of these neurohormones that make us feel certain ways when we are emotional. Now, as well as the danger, as well as pain, our brains process also pleasure. So our brains are like computers. It's like a computing machine that whatever it receives from the environment, it computes it. It processes the information. So when you read Facebook, when you see a post, your brain processes that information. And sometimes we panic about what we read about because we're not aware if the thing we're reading is accurate or not. So that's what you got. That's the story you got. That's why you respond in a certain way. So our brain, just like a computer, also is a pattern recognizer. It likes patterns. So there are people that we know already, the names, our loved ones, people are familiar to us because our brains recognize those patterns already of these people. So it makes those connections. That's why if you have a call and you receive the call, even without caller ID, if the person speaks, you're able to recognize who the person is, especially if it's a loved one, because your brain recognizes the pattern of the voice of that person. So your brain also responds in patterns wherein you either react negatively towards a person because of the repetitive influences that this person was able to bring into your life. So kung kunyari, palagi siyang galit, or palagi siyang nakasimangot, always frowning, always having a bad day. So that's already a pattern you've recognized and therefore equated it as, a bad person, a nega person, diba? So we have to be aware of the patterns of how our brains recognize certain things. Also, our brains recognize patterns like, for example, this person's always positive or always happy. All of a sudden, you realize and you notice, something's wrong. Why? Because your brain recognized a deviation from a pattern. So even our bodies, we have to be aware of the patterns of our bodies. Like I have to know that there are days wherein I'm aware of this, that it's not so amazing or okay. My favorite word is amazing. And if you've heard me in the past whenever I do a talk, it's always amazing, amazing. But there are days when I get to calibrate myself for awareness and I'm like, I'm not so okay today. And to acknowledge that, because it's a different pattern to how I usually feel. I'm usually light, bubbly, and happy, especially because of my day-to-day work, which is inspiring people, training organizations. Right now, when the pandemic happened, we were quick to pivot as a training company. So in the first few months, we really learned all the different kinds of tools and technology that we can utilize so that we could do training. Because if we don't pivot, we're going to die as an organization. So I'm just so proud because prior to the pandemic, we were already teaching thousands of organizations on agility and resilience. So when the pandemic hit, the first thing that I had to be aware of is how to use the tools that I've been teaching people. So if it is working, let me use it and see if it's going to affect us. Now, the patterns that I'm so used to prior to training is the laughter of people, the high fives, yung magulo, yung talagang ang saya-saya. It's so much fun when I do live training. And those are the patterns I pay attention to calibrate my audience. So I know if I'm doing a good talk or not. But when it comes to an online training, I have different ways of awareness to be more aware, because you have to calibrate differently. And it's so difficult to calibrate, especially if I don't see anybody. And if I don't hear anybody, so how could I recognize patterns, right? So I have to learn how to be at peace with those things as well, because there are things that I have to train myself on. I have to learn, especially in this new normal. The brain is trained and trainable. At first few months, oh my God, I was so paranoid. I was doing a talk for 1,000 people every batch. 1,000, imagine. And we were doing 55, we did trainings for 55,000 public school teachers. So imagine it's 1,000 people, but I don't hear them. I don't see all of them. So parang ako, masaya ba sila? Are they laughing? Are they okay? So I had to train myself to be okay. And eventually, even if I don't get to hear or see people, I find different ways of calibration, especially with the team I work with. Like Team RCW, if I'm okay or if anything's happening and people are responding, just give me a shout out on our chat box. So there's a way for me to get feedback also from them, okay? So just in case I don't get to see or hear everyone else. Okay, so ayan. Oh, thank you. I'm seeing so many things here. So Tita H said, hi, Carelle. So excited to have our forever Suki. Yes. And from Joanne, Father Joanne, I think your energy as you speak is so engaging and contagious. Way to go, Miss Carelle. Thank you so much, Father Joanne. And Ruth said, amazing is also my favorite word. Okay, we are okay. Vince, hi, Vince Concho. Very familiar. I've met Vince a couple, probably 3 decades ago. I don't know if he remembers me. But anyway, the brain is trained and trainable. And just like a muscle, and wherever you are, if you just squeeze your biceps right now. Can you see my biceps? Actually, I have biceps. Yeah. But why do I have biceps? I don't really work out now. I don't get that time to exercise a lot now. But ever since I was young, ever since I was a teenager, I danced a lot. I worked out a lot. I was even a part of a competition called Great Bodies. So I was in, physical competitions for working out and stuff like that. But even if it's been years since I've worked out, mag-push-ups lang ako ng konti. A couple of push-ups, lalabas na yung muscles kasi it's been trained for so many years. So just like positivity, just like negativity, just like courage, resilience, just like complaining, all of these things are default responses we have that we've trained, our brains have been trained on over and over again, so that got stronger. So if we want to have better awareness, we have to train on awareness. We have to train on care. It has to be purposeful as well. Yes, you like great bodies? Yes, I like it too. Hi, Jean. Hello, Alvin. So our brains are trained to move away from danger. If there's danger, it impulsively, as from impulse, moves away from danger. So if you see a call from someone you don't like, all of a sudden your heart beats very fast, your throat gets so dry. It's a neurological response. Our brain, our amygdala, is activated, sending, a message to our body, releasing the cortisol, and all of a sudden you're stressed. And you move away, literally even move away from someone you don't like. And if there's someone you like, your body literally just moves towards that person. Your body is drawn towards pleasure. So you could see in the nonverbals of people, if they like you, and you have to be aware of that as well within yourself. If you like something, your body is moving forward. And if you don't like something, your body is also moving away. So there's that repulsion that we have that is very physiological. Now, our executive brain, the prefrontal cortex, it's over here. This beautiful part of our brain acts as the brake pedal of the emotional brain. So we have this. We have the logical part of the brain that says, stop first. Why are you panicking? Wait a minute. That person's not so bad. Hold on. Wait, is this real news or fake news? So you have to be aware of this capability of this brain and to be able to train to think. Now, the way to activate this is quite simple. Breathe. The minute that you breathe, it activates the parasympathetic and sympathetic parts of our brain, the emotional and logical parts of our brain. It gets activated when you breathe, and it halts the emotions from going haywire. And it says to you, wait a minute, then you can think better. The minute that your brain is in a reward mode, the minute that your brain is thinking better, you collaborate better, you become more cognitive, you get to understand things better, you get to also become more creative. You create, you collaborate, you become more cognizant. So you have to understand and be aware, wait, I'm not just a bunch of emotions. I also have a part of my brain that can think, that can process things. So how do I take care of myself better, especially at this time? So let me just remind you a couple of things, and that is to be kind. Be kind with yourself. Give yourself that charitable assumption. I always tell people, if you want to be kind to others, be kind first with yourself. And I have to be aware if I need nurture, if I need caring, because a lot of us are like warriors. We're in the battlefield right now. And we have to know if we're bleeding. Some of us are already bleeding and we keep on fighting. You have to know how to take care of yourself and say, wait a minute, I'm wounded here. I need to take care of this first. Then I fight harder. Then I fight again. So whenever I talk about caring for the self, there are emotions that a lot of people would say, oh, it's not okay to feel this. Do you have emotions that you think are not okay? Some people will say, oh, that's anger, that's bad. Or don't be sad. You have to be positive always. Amazing, amazing always. I tell people, we can also have toxic positivity. Awareness that we can have something we call toxic positivity, wherein we do not accept and allow others to feel or yourself to feel, or to have that awareness. Again, just like this Korean novella or Korean drama, it's okay not to be okay. So it's true. There are certain feelings that people think that are not okay to have. But these feelings, whether it's anger, whether it's fear, they have intentions. fear's intention is to protect you and to keep you alive. So is anger's intention. So even if there are emotions that you say, oh, I'm having this, just like today, I was not feeling so well this morning. And I have to acknowledge that and say, Carelle, what do you need? Hey, self, what do you need today? What's going on? Why are you feeling this way? To have that kind of vulnerable, courageous, and open conversation with myself, so I know what I need to be able to care for myself better. Now, there's another damaging assumption when it comes to us thinking that other people's feelings are more important than ours. Oh my goodness. 'Di ba? Parang magpapaubaya na lang ako. Yung asawa ko muna, my children first. But, if you are also wounded and bleeding and you take care of your kids, you only give your kids what's left of you. I want to be able to take care of myself so that I could give my kids the best of me. So, a couple of Facebook user, I don't see your name, but you say you have a very captivating energy. Thank you so much. Again, this all goes back to an awareness that I need to be able to inspire hundreds of you. I don't know how many people are here, but if I need to do that, I need to be aware of my own capability and my own energy today. I need to boost that up, take care of myself better, because I need to be able to capture, captivate, or engage your energies as well. Now, agree, positivity is good, but just like anything in excess, yes, it can be dangerous. As I've said, when it comes to toxic positivity, it's better to have realistic optimism, or a positivity that is with empathy. I always tell people, positivity without empathy is empty. You're just, I'm so positive, but you don't have empathy and compassion for others. So you have to know that if I'm going to give out positivity, it has to be with empathy and compassion for the other. And also, empathy and compassion for myself. Positivity does not mean avoidance and ignoring your sadness. It's being able to understand and honor your feelings. Understand and honor your feelings, and that these feelings you can manage. And as you manage these feelings, some of these feelings, a lot of people think, forever, I'll feel this way forever, but they're not static. They're not static. And feelings, you can negotiate with it as well. You can analyze it as well. Now, they are based on our perceptions, which are negotiable, and trying to shift our perception can affect how we feel as well. Now, let me just give you a couple of things just to give you tips on how we can have better well-being. Now, I also have FB and Instagram, so if anyone would like to follow us, it's Carelle-Herrera and Train Station Philippines. And if you'd want to follow us on Spotify, I have free podcasts on Spotify, so you could hear more about neuroscience, about being brain strong on Train Station Philippines. So it's free. Just click on it and go to Spotify and look for these things. So let me talk about how to manage our biases. In organizations that we train, with individuals that we talk to, there are so many biases that stop us from becoming better, that stop us from taking care of ourselves, that stop us from having well-being. And these biases are what we call BS. What's a BS? Anybody? What's a BS? I'm looking at the chat box. What's the meaning of BS? BS, yes, is belief system. That's your belief system. And so long as you have a brain, you have a bias. So it's okay if you're biased, because that means you have a brain. But these biases get us in trouble, and we have to be aware of them. The first bias that we have is what we call a comparison bias. Oh, by the way, RCW, do tell me, time check, just in case I need to end at any time, because I didn't realize what time I started, so I don't know what time I'm gonna end. But anyway, let's talk about comparison bias. A lot of us do not realize that we're not aware of how we compare ourselves to others. Now, I'll give you a very quick activity. Look at these black circles. Okay, the two black circles here in this illustration. Which is bigger? The one on the left or the one on the right? One on the left or the one on the right? Which black circle is bigger? Anybody? Yes, anybody. Oh, there's a Facebook user says your topic on how the brain works, how we are all wired, and how we behave as a function of how our brain works is of special interest. Yes, at 57 years old, I decided to go back to school to do my master's in psych. Very interesting. Absolutely. Oh, yay! Thank you. Same sila. Correct. So correct. Same sila. It's just that the other circle, the one on the left, really looks smaller because you're comparing it to bigger circles. While the other one, the circle on the right, looks a lot bigger because it's compared to smaller circles. Now, just like me, I have to say that I really have amazing friends, but I have really good friends who are my dive buddies. So we go diving with them. And aside from being dive buddies, we travel all over the world to dive. So we go to Fiji, Maldives. So we save up a lot. My husband and I try to save up a lot just so we can do those things. But these people happen to be so rich, as in they have jets, they have their own jets, they have their own choppers, they have their own hotels. They're that rich. So compared to them, I'm so poor. Really, my husband and I are so poor compared to them. But, my husband and I are above average. I come from a poor family. So coming from a poor family, when I go to my province, my dad was a houseboy, my dad was a janitor, he was a farmer in a poor area in Pangasinan. So whenever we would go to that part, to our relatives, of course, compared to them, I'm very successful. To them, I'm very, way up there. But because of your comparison, what's your reference point for your comparison? So you have to be aware. You have to be aware of how you compare yourselves to others and be able to accept your imperfections as you compare yourselves to other people. Focus on what you have and on your journey and stop comparing. Sometimes we say, oh my gosh, this person has such a great life on FB. Why me? I'm not having that kind of great life. Oh, and then this person has like hundreds and hundreds of likes and I don't. Let's stop comparing. And I think a lot of people have seen low self-esteem getting affected because of social media, again, because of comparison bias. Now, there's this thing also that we have to be aware of, miswanting. It's when we start wanting things that we think are supposed to make us happy. So we predict, oh, when I get this car, it's going to make me happy. When I get this house, it's going to make me happy. When the pandemic is done, it's going to make me happy. We have to be aware of our biases, that these things are supposed to make us happy. Because the minute that these people experience the promotion, the job, the car, the house, they realize after a while, why am I not so happy? Why am I not so happy after a while? Well, one thing is because prediction bias kicks in, and it's the prediction that something is going to last forever. Whether it's good or bad, we predict that, oh, this great thing is going to last forever. And when we go through a bad thing, we also think it's going to last forever. So it's very important for us to understand this prediction bias that we have. A lot of people go through depression because they think nga it's forever. But I tell people it's not that you are depressed, you're going through it. So there is an end to it. That's how we change language and perceptions of these things. Now, aside from the good things, I'm in a very happy marriage. I love my husband so much. And of course, when you think, then it's not gonna last, syempre nakakaiyak. You can get depressed about it. But no, you have to see the good things that you have in your life and be able to savor it too, so that you can prolong your happiness. Why? Because our brains have what we call adaptation bias. We adapt. So when you get the car, when you get the house, when you get the job, you adapt. And then all of a sudden, it's not so amazing anymore. So you have to be aware how you're adapting. People in Boracay that I've been training for so many years, I would tell them, especially the locals, oh, what an amazing sunset you have. And the Boracay locals would look at it and say, yan, okay, ganda. They're so used to the amazing that it's not amazing anymore. They got tired of it. So sometimes we get tired of, or we take for granted where we are because of that adaptation. Just like one of my clients who said, I'm so bored with my job. And I'm like, how can you be bored with your job? She says, because I sing 6 times a day, the same song. It's so boring. Singing 6 times a day, the same song in Disneyland because she works in Disneyland. How can you be bored in Disneyland, right? And I said to her, every time you leave work, you have fireworks. How can you be bored? And it's because of the adaptation bias, and we forget to savor. So our brain has this thing called hedonic adaptation, and it's the tendency of human beings to quickly return to a relatively stable level of happiness, whether it is positive or negative. So it's a cycle. What happens is, I just want to show you this illustration. If it's a good thing, after a while, it plateaus. If it's a bad thing, after a while, it plateaus. So just like what's happening in this pandemic, some of you have already plateaued. Some of you have already accepted it. I've accepted it. I am not so devastated with it anymore, as the bad stuff has already plateaued and I got used to waking up, doing all my talks online. So I have to be aware. How can I now utilize this adaptation, awareness of adaptation, and help me prolong my happiness? How can I utilize this? As I've said a while ago, savor the good stuff. And also knowing, because of adaptation, that even the worst things that are happening in your life, you can live through it. They've had a study of this in neuroscience, wherein they interviewed people who are terminally ill. And what they realized with people who are terminally ill, they were predicting that it was going to be the worst thing that's going to happen to them. A year after, they interviewed the same individuals who were diagnosed with terminal illness, and the people who, of course, were still alive after a year said it was the best year of my life. It wasn't the worst thing when I found out that I had this illness. So the last thing that I'd like to talk about, I talked about the emotional brain, the logical brain. This is the social brain. Our social brain needs to connect. So we have to be aware that this is a very powerful way for us to take care of ourselves, and that's through connection. I acknowledge how RCW creates this event so that people can connect from wherever they are in the world, so that they could be more equipped. So just a couple of things so that we can maintain our day-to-day well-being, so that you can care for yourselves. 3 tips lang, very simple. The first tip is to savor. I'm savoring my glass of sago at gulaman. It reminds me of childhood. I savor every morning. My husband makes me a cup of coffee, and I can take that for granted and sometimes wake up and say, where's my coffee? But I savor it because that's his act of service to me. I savor holding his hand. Sometimes when we're watching K-drama, I hold his hand and I look at my husband's face, and I savor those moments. I savor putting my kids to sleep. I never got to do that prior to pandemic. And now I get to, sing to them and put them to sleep, sing them a lullaby. I get to tell them stories. I get to play with them. I savor also partners. When the pandemic happened, my husband and I talked about closing shop. We said, should we close this company? Because we can take our investment and just live safely, comfortably in the next year, and people still get me anyway for trainings and talks. And my husband and I said to each other, we started Train Station not for us, but for people. For our people. So we bled just like a lot of organizations. We bled for months with zero income. And right now I'm savoring every client who books us for training. Right now, all of our clients have adapted to the fact that this is how the world is going to be. So they're now doing online virtual trainings with us, rollouts, several days of trainings. And I savor those victories and achievements. Now, Another thing that I'd like to give you is that you visualize the kind of life you want to have. Be aware of the kind of person you want to be. See the things that you're grateful for. As I've said, see your achievements too. See yourself, see your humanity. Be able to see a bigger picture of your life, and know that there are times when things are not absolutely wonderful and okay, and it's okay. And that means it's time for you to take care of yourself. That's the only signal I pay attention to. When I'm not okay, I'm aware of it because I know that I need to take care of myself too. My body has a way of telling me, enough, too much. Or even you don't have to reach that point. You can do the nurturing on yourself every day. I advise people to take care of themselves by having a 5-minute connect time. doing a 5-minute fun time or just have fun with your kids. Whenever I do a Zoom meeting and it's one after another, I have a 5-minute break in between wherein I just play hide and seek with my kids, or I play a song and I jump up and down with my children and we all start dancing. So I have to be able to take care of that. So I am renewed so I can keep on working. The last thing that I encourage everyone to have is to seek. Seek your purpose. Seek God. Seek the energy. And I always say to people, plug to your source. We're all like cell phones. We have our own batteries, but we have to plug to the source. So I seek my God. I seek how He is using me every day. I go down on my knees and I just say, Lord, how do you use me today? And that replenishes me with energy. I always tell people about the story of David and Goliath. And I say to people, right now, this pandemic we have is the Goliath, and we are all Davids. And David only had stones, right, to slay the giant. But beyond those stones, he had faith. So to have that purpose, and based on neuroscience, this is a neuroscientific study, based on the study of Martin Seligman on positive psychology, people who have meaning, purpose, they're happier. They have better well-being. So seek that. What's my purpose? What's the meaning in what I do? Why do I do what I do? So with that, ladies and gentlemen, yes, the 3 S's I have. Thank you so much, Vince. And it's really to savor. It's really to see and seek. So if you have any questions, ladies and gentlemen, I'm available. Thank you so much for all of the comments I'm seeing here. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Amazing. Always. Amazing. Always. When I listen to Carelle, I get re-energized so much. Para siyang source you can plug into her, tapos you get all the energy that she has because she's very contagious when it comes to that.
You're pang showbiz ka talaga, Carelle. Very bubbly, very animated.
Yan yung kailangan matutunan sa new normal. Kailangan daw para kang nasa TV kapag nagsasalita ka ngayon.
Maybe you should give your presentations on a stage.
Yeah, I think she does that. Kasi alam mo na, nakikita ko yung mga back end na, yung kanyang green screen. She really makes the best she can do out of this pandemic for Train Station. Congratulations, Carelle. Keep it up. Ang galing. Every time I hear that Carelle is one of the speakers, ay naku, gusto ko yan. And I want to watch. And learn. Because, even if you hear her every time, you get more and more and more. Kasi in different circumstances. So you get more knowledge. Mas madami kang nakikitang bago. Diba?
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Actually, Carelle, if you review the comments, there are a couple of comments there that say that they're interested to learn more about neuro-linguistic programming and
NLP.
Yes.
Right,
definitely.
Review the comments and
Thank you so much. Please, you can visit our website. I have it here. It's www.trainstation.com.ph, or just follow me on Facebook, Carelle Herrera. Send me a message. If you want the free stuff, there's a lot of free stuff. Because of the pandemic, ang daming gustong naming tulungan, and dahil so many people need help, just go on Spotify. There's a lot of things that you could listen to there. There are meditation stuff. There are things that could help you be more grateful every day. You could start your day better or end your day better with a gratitude meditation that I've had there, and how to deal with toxic people, a toxic environment. Yeah, so those things.
Okay. Carelle, I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
Ayan, may question.
So here we go with the sir. Okay.
Yes.
About NLP in particular, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it true, because you see, I'm an HR practitioner and I do a lot of recruitment. Therefore, I do interviewing, panel interviewing, as a matter of fact. Now, I'm the person who sits in the corner or in the side of the table, and I do most of the observation. My question is this. is it true that with neuro-linguistic programming, you can actually spot if the person you're interviewing is actually making you bola?
Oh yeah,
Diba? Based on how she
definitely.
looks. Is that true?
Definitely. Well, there is a progression already when it comes to that study because I've also gone through neuroscience. And what neuroscience would talk about is how the eyes move around when it's excited, when it is interested, and there are already studies on that, and there are also studies on the mirror neurons, how the brain really has more empathy. You can really manipulate even empathy just by doing the same thing as someone. So behavior is a manifestation of language in their heads. So if you're saying, oh, is a person lying or not, you can actually read it because of the incongruence in their body language. So meaning kanina sabi natin the brain likes patterns. So if a person speaks a certain way and then when they're lying, you notice a deviation in the pattern. That's why your brain also senses, why don't I believe that? Why am I not believing that? And sometimes because you're trained as an HR practitioner, it has become so strong that you can smell it already. So because your brain has been trained to calibrate, while other people, Sir Nandy, not a lot of people are trained to calibrate. They're too, because their brain has been trained to be too trusting or too dense. Masyadong dense, yung parang dead ma. Yung sa kausap nila. So,
Yeah. Well, actually,
Right.
we the people in my generation, okay, and that some time ago, we were trained in facial expression and body language.
yes,
So
yes.
what they do with their hands, how they sit down,
Yeah.
and then their expressions in face. And then NLP came into the picture and they said, this is even more effective and it's a lot quicker and a lot simpler to spot
Yes.
the liars.
Yes.
Just
Yes.
look at
Yes.
their eyes.
Yes.
Just look
Yes.
at their
But
eyes.
also who are telling the truth. Di ba? Para
Yeah.
balance. Hindi lang lie, but
Yeah.
those are also telling
But
the
I
truth.
never
Di
got
ba?
into
Para
NLP.
balance.
That's why I think I will contact you, Carelle. Okay? Because I never got into NLP. Okay, so ayun, you already have a student. Okay?
Yay!
Yay. Yes, definitely. And there are so many uses to it. And that's why I love how it is also growing and transforming, especially with neuroscience, because I love evidence. I don't know about you guys, but I really, as much as I am a faith person, I also like evidence. So when I look at neurosciences and how it supports language, how it supports programming, and how it supports how we can reprogram a lot of the wrong beliefs that we have, because right now in train station we're coaching people, we're doing counseling also for people who are in going through a lot right now, and even we're the first responders in Marawi. So we have helped so many people in Yolanda whenever people need help. So the utilization of NLP has really reached many aspects already, from corporate to transformational change with individuals. So thank you again, everybody. Thank you.
Yes.
God bless you.
Well,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
And,
you.
oh, wait. Nako, nawala. Okay, you're back. You're back. Before
There,
you
there,
exit,
there. Go, Nandy.
before you stage exit, okay? All right.
Yes.
We would like to express our gratitude, Carelle, for your amazing and animated presentation. And I would like to read from this certificate of appreciation, which is presented to Carelle Mangaliag-Herrera for sharing her valuable
It's
knowledge,
there on the
professional
screen.
expertise, and personal input on the topic of care as awareness during the RCWFI 20th year anniversary's virtual event themed Channeling Care. Given with the Lord's abundant blessings on this 20th day of November 2020 at the RCW Counseling and Inner Wellness Center, Quezon City, Philippines. Signed by our RCW Board Chairperson, Cesar L. Carriedo, and our RCWFI founder and program director, Harriet H. Ormillosa, Reintegration for Care and Wholeness Foundation Incorporated. Maraming salamat.
Maraming salamat, sir. Sir, pwede bang like 1 second lang? Because Mao mentioned here also na parang people can misuse NLP, and I just want to be able to acknowledge that. That's why we always have to make sure of our intentions.
Mhm.
Be aware of your intentions. Any tool, a fork can kill.
Yeah.
Right?
Correct.
So,
Yep.
so long
Thank
as
you
we're
for
aligned
that.
with our intentions. So, thank you so much for this beautiful intention, ladies and gentlemen. RCW, thank you for the invite. Thank you for the intention of always connecting people and taking care of so many people. Yeah, who care for thousands, millions of people all over the world. So, congratulations, and here's to 20 more, 30 more, 50 more years.
Yay! Thank you
Yes.
and bravo again, Miss Carelle. Salamat, maraming salamat, Suki. Sa uulitin. Okay, here to reinforce the presentation of Miss Carelle, partner is someone who is also a trustee of the RCW board. Is also a life coach and financial wellness speaker for children 3 years old and up. Natuwa ako nung nakita ito kasi yung financial awareness, 3 years old, even at very early stage, kailangan na nilang malaman. Currently conducts a holistic approach in spreading financial awareness to employees and millennials. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Gina Pabiana. To give her testimony. Hi, Gina.
Hi, Itin. Hi, Nandy.
Hi, long time no see.
Thank you so much, Carelle, for that insightful presentation. Grabe, I was so inspired. Okay, and to start, I am also a graduate of RCW 20 years ago. So I enrolled when I was 10 years old. Ayan. I was the youngest, actually, no? Okay. So, this is how actually the pandemic taught me, okay, at this time, is to be more aware as part of my self-care. I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. Ano ba itong fibromyalgia na ito? It is a widespread of muscle pain. Hindi mo na alam kung saan nanggagaling ang sakit, hindi ba? From ulo hanggang paa. Okay?
Correct.
And I have my therapy regularly. And just to manage the pain. Ang sabi, wala raw cure, but I need lang to manage it. So, okay na sa akin yun, just managing the pain. And just recently, part of my medical requirement is for me to undergo CBC. Diba yung mga CBC results? And then, when actually my doctor got the result, she told me, okay, Gina, after 3 months, kung hindi ka pa magkakaroon or if you will not undergo lifestyle modification, I need to start your maintenance. Imagine, may maintenance medicine na ako. And then, ang unang naisip ko, paano na yung mga anak ko? Ganun agad, di ba, advance mag-isip? Paano na mga anak ko? Paano na yung mga plano ko? Paano na lahat? And then, it was only then I realized the result was just a reminder for me to be fully aware of my present condition. For me to be fully aware that I really cannot give what I don't have. That I need to take care of myself first. And then, I took that as a challenge, a gift. And I decided to follow my care tips for myself. So what are those care tips for myself? My number 1 care tip is letter C, I need to commit. I need to commit to be a part of a program that will eventually decrease my cholesterol level to share. And it takes an intentional commitment for me to really change. Intentional commitment, actually. Not just a commitment, but intentional commitment. It always begins with a decision. Lalo na ngayon, ang sarap kumain, hindi ba? Lalo na ngayon, talagang papunta ang Burmans. Again, that's the autopilot, di ba? Ang sarap kumain. But being intentional is me rewiring my brain that I am doing this because I need to, because this is part of my self-care. And after that, after getting the advice of my doctor, I decided to check the program that actually I was doing several months ago or several years ago. And this is into this is a program that we all call fasting. And it's not an easy journey. Imagine habang wala akong disiplina sa pagkain, and right now because of the result, I need to be committed to the program. After checking the program and asking my doctor's advice, I started it, and it was not an easy journey. Commitment can define or destroy me. But either way, it will define me in 3 months' time, or even in 3 years' time, or even in 30 years' time. So my commitment will definitely define me after 3 months of doing it. I started last week, and then I was so surprised when I checked my weight. I already lost pounds. Oh my gosh. And then I told myself, I need to do it, not for others, but for myself. And this pandemic has taught me that intentional commitment is really a must. That this pandemic is a gift for me to be transformed. No, nothing more. Imagine, this is a call for me for a total transformation. Diba? Sabi nga ng RCW, I really cannot give what I don't have. And this is also for me a preparation for the new rich normal. I don't usually call this pandemic the new normal because this is already our normal. But I call this the new rich normal. Why? Because if I tend to use this pandemic for me to grow, magiging rich in all aspects of life, hindi ba? So this is now my new rich normal. And part of my care is accept. Fibromyalgia is already there. Kahit anong balik-baliktarin ko, kahit ang sensya, parang COVID lang yan, mahihirapan sa pagtuklas ng gamot. But then again, I just need to be conscious of my activities, hindi ba? I just need lang to be conscious of my activities. And I learn to respect my body. That's it. Sabi nga kanina, yung autopilot na I am a superwoman, hindi pala totoo. Hindi siya totoo. Why? Because I was actually programmed na dapat lahat alam mo. Dapat ganito ka, dapat. And I'm so grateful to Tita H and to RCW family for letting me realize it's okay kung hindi ka perfect. Diba? It's okay if you don't know everything. It's okay. Being you and connected with God is already a gift. And that's it. Imagine. And I need to accept that my cholesterol is really soaring high. But I need also to accept that I need to be grateful to God for showing me my health condition and for giving me now the opportunity to modify my lifestyle. Sabi nga ng doktor ko, yung iba hindi na nagigising kasi hindi nila alam. But I am so grateful that having that self-awareness na meron akong ganitong condition, it led me to an action and it led me to an intentional commitment of really improving not just my physical health but holistically. And just to share, brothers and sisters, under my acceptance, my son had this congenital ptosis. Congenital ptosis is a case of droopy eyelid. Imagine droopy eyelid. Alam mo, ito yung naging pamantayan ko. Aside from RCW, this young boy really taught me a lot about acceptance. Of course, pag nanay ka, takot na takot kang mabuli ang anak mo, hindi ba? Lalo na may mga ganyang situations or imperfections. And then when I ask my son, during grade elementary days or grade 1 specifically, Ang sabi sa akin ng anak ko, you know what, mommy, a lot of my classmates were asking me, bakit daw yung isang mata ko maliit compared to other ones? Sabi ko, so, anong reply mo? So, what did you reply? What did you answer? You know what, I was so surprised. When my son answered, God made me this way. Imagine, nga naman, akong nanay, sobrang sakit ng ulo ko on how to protect my son from being bullied. But my son has this orientation that God made me this way. And then he told his classmates, do not question God. Imagine, been through a lot of hurtful things or hurtful situations that actually I was questioning myself. And then the boy's answer actually reflected on how he viewed himself, the way God viewed him. And then just recently, I told him that he is actually 12 years old now. Just recently, during this pandemic, I asked him, so how do you handle now your ptosis? At ito yung sagot na talaga mang, oh Lord God, I'm so grateful. And he told me, you know what, Mommy? I decided to befriend my imperfections. Hearing that from a 12-year-old kid, wala akong excuse. Wala akong excuse not to accept myself. Imagine, and with the help of RCWFI family, this is my way of really giving back that I am a recovering people pleaser. Recovering, okay. And it was so liberating. We are recovering, okay. And letter R for my self-imposed care, renew the way I think. The Bible says, let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Willpower did not bring me to the result that I really wanted. Willpower, short change, but hindi doon sa gusto ko talaga. But then again, I need to change my autopilot, the way I think. The reason why I'm doing this, because by being healthy, this is my way of giving my more. By becoming more, giving more, and to have more, because I really cannot give what I don't have. And it is about protecting my peace. It is about protecting my peace lalo na ngayong mga panahong ito. And it is indeed part of my self-awareness, self-care, that I need to turn off the TV kung medyo stressful na siya. I stop monitoring COVID cases. Kasi kahit naman i-monitor ko yun, wala akong gagawa. I need to protect myself from negatrons. I need to unfollow friends na walang ginawa. Kung hindi, mag-post ng mga negative comments about anything. Di ba? Life is too short. And this pandemic, I treat it as a gift. If you have a wonderful gift, hindi mo yun sasayangin, hindi ba? So, ang sabi ko, every day, I need to take and to receive my gift wholeheartedly without any baggage. At yan ang natutunan ko sa RCW. And it's about me saying no to non-essential things. Alam mo, it was also liberating kasi ako yung yes. Siguro, sabi nga ng doktor, yan fibromyalgia mo, nanggaling yan dun sa pag-yes mo sa lahat ng mga activities na kahit hindi mo na kaya. Imagine? Sabi ko, oo nga. But now, fibromyalgia is a gift for me to say no. Even in a Zoom meeting, I am managing my own agency and talaga namang halos every day. But right now, I need to limit myself. I need to tell myself, tao ka, hindi ka superwoman. And lastly is my E, empathize. Empathize is not about others. Empathize is about me connecting within. Connecting with myself. Me labeling my feelings. Unlike dati, hindi ko, okay na akong masaktan, wag lang sila. Okay? So, right after that, no, now, I tell myself, I need to label my feelings. Yes, it's okay not to be perfect. I need to label my feelings. Kung galit ako, galit ako. Kung masaya ako, I'm happy. Pwede akong sumigaw. Kasi hindi natin alam kung ano bukas ang makukuha natin. And this is also my way of telling my kids, it's okay, anak. Are you mad? It's okay. If you really want to cry, you cry. Di ba? Kasi yung bata ko, bawal kang umiyak. Bawal. Kaya suppress ang feelings. So ngayon, with the help of RCW, hindi na. Di ba? Hindi na suppress ang feelings. Ngayon, ang gaang-gaang ng feeling. Sobrang gaang ng feeling. Why? It's not about you being perfect. It's about you embracing. It's about me embracing my imperfections. And through self-awareness and self-care, that is my way of really getting wisdom from God, that I can do everything through Him who is actually giving me strength. And through awareness, this is my way of actually sharing to the world my mission of really inspiring others by co-creating with God. And I realized that without self-awareness, there will never be what we call self-care. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Gina. Okay. Thank you. And thank you also to those who posted their comments. Very, very supporting comments. As Gina was doing her presentation and sharing her experiences, please keep them coming. Because if not for anything else, they are very, very positively reinforcing. So that is a big help. I'm looking at them as I talk. Okay, it's really wonderful the way a lot of you have also poured out your hearts as far as making your comments and supporting our presenters are concerned. Okay, if there
that's where care comes in, huh? That's where care really comes in when you show your support. And as I've said earlier, when we have this, it's not just purely talk, but you get other things as well. It spices that up with testimonial, and then you have action and integration, and then you have application as well. So yun yung may maganda dito kasi buo siya. Sabi nga ni Gina, accepting everything. So katulad din sabi kanina ni Tucci, the yin and the yang. So it's not about perfection, it's not about being superwoman or superman, but being whole with all our negatives and positive as well.
That is correct. That is correct. All right. Anyway, Gina, any parting words before we exit stage?
Okay. God created us in His own image and likeness. It is actually a challenging part for me to fully embrace that. But then again, God is really telling me, you know what, anak? You and I are majority. You and I can fly. And that alone can actually magnify how RCW is really helping each one of us to see Christ in us. By seeing Christ in us, that's the only way for us to really do His mission. You know what? I was reading every day Mission-Driven Life. And right after every chapter, it was then I realized that comparison is nothing. God created us on a specific mission. Imagine, kung lahat tayo fit to do our mission well, walang magsasapawan. And that realization made me realize that life indeed is a gift. Dadaan lang tayo dito. At ang pinakamaganda pa, kasama natin ang RCW sa pagdaan, sa mission, sa buhay natin. And God is really with us in helping each other to be the best version of themselves. So thank you, Itin, and thank you, Nandy.
Okay.
Made
Thank
in the
you. Thank you so much, Gina.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Gina. Okay. Thank you very much, friends, for continuing to post your comments. As I said, it is really positively enforcing. Okay. Moving on, partner. We
Yes.
now call our program manager and master trainer, also a very staunch supporter and one of the pillars of RCWFI, to integrate what our colleagues have just shared and invite us to make concrete applications of the tools that we have learned. Maybe please call Miss Rebecca Bicbic Medez. Bicbic?
Yay! Hi, Vic! Come on!
Hi! Woo!
Hi, Vic! I miss you. Nice to see you again.
Hi, Tin! Hi, Nandy!
Hello, Vic.
The topics are very inspiring. The sharing is very inspiring. And to be aware of what we're going through, our feelings, our thoughts, as what Carelle said, is very challenging sometimes, especially if it's like overwhelming, diba? So, thank you for this opportunity. Okay, so kanina when I was listening to Carelle, sabi ko grabing energy, diba? Kaya ba yung pantayan? Mukhang hindi kayang pantayan, diba? So, no need to make pantay with the energy. As Carelle was saying, this is about recognizing, diba? Recognizing your strengths, recognizing your person, recognizing your reality. And I was jotting down notes kanina and I was saying, I will never tire listening to Carelle, because even if we hear the NLP topic over and over again, there's always an inspiration. There's always a new thought that comes in. And if the new thought may sometimes come in as a confirmation or affirmation of what we already learn or what we already know, then it's a relearning of the process, diba? As she was saying earlier, the brain creates a pattern. So when we get into familiar conversations, then we begin to affirm ourselves and say na, oy, alam ko yun na, oy, tama yun na, oy, nararanasan ko na yun na, oy, nangyayari na yun sa akin eh. And that's basically awareness. When we begin to connect. So awareness is also connecting. When we begin to connect not only with others, but basically connecting with our own experience. And ano pa ba ang experience natin, kundi yung iniisip natin, di ba? Our thoughts are our experience. Our feelings are our experience. Our day-to-day dealings with ourselves and others are our experience. So the recognition, the awareness of those experiences will actually help us to take care of ourselves, will actually help us to ground into our reality. I also like what she said, that be kind to yourself. That's a litany that I would always encourage the people I talk to in counseling. Sometimes I would even ask, why are you so hard on yourself, diba? Ba't ka galit na galit sa sarili mo, diba? Anong ginawa ng sarili mo para magalit ka, diba? And sometimes we're not even aware that we're so hard on ourselves. We're not even aware that we are so mean, not only hard, but mean on ourselves. So there we go. So recognizing the happenings in our bodies, including emotions and thoughts and behaviors, is actually taking care of ourselves. It's actually just owning up to where we are at the moment. And wala namang mali, di ba? We're talking about fullness of life in RCW, and fullness of life is not the goal, because fullness of life is what we experience, hope to experience every day. Tama? Okay, so there you go.
Tama.
So, my challenge, okay, since Carelle introduced us to recognizing our emotions, sabi niya kanina, there are two assumptions with regards to feelings. Sabi niya, there are assumption number one, there are certain feelings that we are not comfortable with, and that there are feelings that are okay to have, di ba? And others to have, but not me. There are feelings that others can feel, but not me. Or there are certain feelings that are comfortable. So namimili tayo ng feelings natin. Okay, I'd like to propose a game that you can actually do with yourself, do in the family, with your children, because then teaching us how to feel doesn't start in the adulthood. Sana, if we can actually be comfortable talking about our feelings with our children, that's a good start. That by the time they reach our age, hindi na sila mangangapa into the, ano bang feeling ko ngayon, ano bang kailangan ko ngayon, di ba? If the feeling language is a natural event, a natural occurrence, a natural process that we go through every day, even with our kids, with the people at home, kahit katulong natin, kung driver natin, kung sino sa office, staff natin. How do you feel today? If feeling language is a natural language for us, it will create what Carelle says, the pattern that it is okay to actually acknowledge emotions. And meron tayong dalawang emotions, di ba? Positive and negative emotions. And our brain, again, when we say, I will not feel angry, the brain does not categorize anger as hindi ito if you feel the big. It will just not feel anger and it will not feel the rest of the feelings. So, we need to recognize that emotions, whether positive or negative, are actually helpful because, as Carelle also said earlier, and as we constantly repeat in RCW, feelings are messengers, diba? They tell us our need. They tell us about our needs, and they also tell us what to do, diba? Sometimes when we are bored, example, when we are bored, and meaning what we're doing right now doesn't make sense. So that's a feeling that gives us a message. When we are feeling, for example, afraid, diba? Like now in the pandemic, marami akong nakakausap. I'm having clients who are basically anxious. And where is the anxiety coming from? What is the need? What is the reality that we're going through? Why are we getting anxious? Maybe there is a fear of uncertainty. There is a fear that I am not in control of the situation. So when I'm not in control of the situation, I panic. Just like I panic kanina when my laptop is not working. When I feel that the sound is not okay, I'm panicking. Oh, wait, I'm panicking, di ba? The amygdala suddenly like erupted and say, wait, gagawin ko dito. And then, parang gano'n na siya, no? So and then, tamang-tama, when I was going through that, and then Carelle was talking, breathe.